Bob and Stacy are here, and their son Boen, and their daughter Lindsay is also on the call. Lindsay, if you want to jump in at any time, please do so. Everyone else, if you could just follow along with the regular etiquette. So how we're going to work this is Bob and Stacy and I have talked about a few questions ahead of time, and I'm going to pose those questions to them. And if you could hold your questions until the end. So we're going to talk through these questions, and then at the end, we're going to have a question and answer session. The whole session is going to be recorded. So just so that you're aware, it is recorded, and we will be posting it next week sometime for anyone who didn't get a chance to join us. So thank you, Bob and Stacy. I've been wanting to do this for a little while, and I'm really glad when I reached out to you guys that you were open to it. I think I met Stacy years ago at Elmont, I think it was, but I have been to Woodstock many times, just never to the convention, never to Bob and Stacy's home, but I have been to Bob's parents' home, and Bob's sister Donna and I are really good friends as well. So the first thing when we were talking with the other night, I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the early years when you first moved on to the convention grounds. So your children would have been pretty little at that point, I guess. Oh, I think you're on mute. I might have muted you. Sorry about that.
I can do it there. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, now I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, everyone that's come on. I really we really appreciate it, and the support for everyone, for Morgan and for us, and it's just been overwhelming, and it kind of restores your faith in humanity. You know that there's some really awesome people out there, and it means a lot to us. And so just a quick introduction, like some people don't really know much about us. And so Stacy and I, we're both born and raised in New Brunswick here. My mom and dad both professed after they were married. And they moved here to Woodstock from the Moncton area. Dad took a job teaching, and so they were new professing folks. My dad's mom had met, people say met the truth, but I'm not really going to say, I don't like to say that, because she met a professing woman in BC, and some people might remember Rose McCrae, and so that was kind of the connection. Anyway, so I was raised here in Woodstock, right nearby where the convention grounds was. I came to meeting here in this home all my life. And we had a really good childhood. Like, my mom and dad are awesome people, and just kind, caring, pretty straight shooters. And so, but very, I feel very, very fortunate for my upbringing. And Stacy's story is very similar. Her parents had connection, but they both professed after they were married, right? And her mom come from like an outsider, if you want to call it that, and so it was a similar experience for her too. And they're just phenomenal, awesome people. Same thing. We're really, really lucky growing up. So what was going on is I got married before I was done school, and so as I was going to school, married, we had a child on the way, and what I was doing was I was studying to be a commercial pilot.
Sorry, someone muted you guys again. Sorry about that. There you go. Yeah,
you got that one? Okay, can you hear us now? So I was studying to be a commercial pilot, and so I had been offered a job in Massachusetts, and I had a little bit of training left to do, and I was going to do it at the Houlton Airport, just across the border in Houlton, and then go to this job. And so I was going to be in Woodstock for the summer what would have been the summer of 1994. I was planning to be there to finish my training, my flight training. And so I called the workers and I told them, what my plans were. And I said, realized that the folks living here in the grounds were getting elderly. And I offered to help them, with groundskeeping and whatever through the summer. It was just the idea. And so, and this occurred in like the winter before the summer of 1994. So then the workers called and asked us if we would consider moving here to stay, like to live here. And I said, well, I'm in school. I don't have don't have a lot of money. And there's no airplanes in Woodstock. It would kind of, but anyway, they said, just think about it. So we thought about it and we just felt like, well, maybe this is what we're, meant to do, and so we made a decision, I abandoned my career and decided.
Okay, so I just muted Bob and Stacy again.
and I'm not complaining. Like we felt like this was what we were supposed to do. And so we moved here. And we were really young and the house was really old. It was a little interesting starting out, but that's kind of how it happened. And my thought was that this was going to be a temporary arrangement and someone would come along, that would buy this place from us. And like we purchased it from the previous owners and I just expected somebody to come along and, we didn't feel like we were suitable, I guess is what I felt. But anyway, I don't know. I almost wonder if we were sort of, I don't like to say bad things, but I feel like we were kind of useful idiots. We're young, naive, we're not well off. We didn't really have a lot of options. And so that's I wonder if that was kind of the strategy. I don't know. But anyway, so we were here during the there's a lot of things that happened that, you could make a whole list of complaints but generally speaking, this type of complaint, it's just normal stuff that happened, but looking back, like, we were just a place as far as the workers were concerned, or as far as I felt, we were just a placeholder, like somebody to be on this place while they were away, and then they'd come back and just sweep us aside and do their thing, is the way we always felt. I don't know. Is that what you felt like, Stacy? Yeah. And there would be the occasional thing where they would start some project of some kind and without any consultation, and we'd say, you're gonna put your hand up and we were basically told that, our concern was only for, where our house was, and that was that. And so
we were told that,
yeah,
we weren't to be concerned with anything but our home.
Yeah.
And you had no option, like, just on that, on mom's behalf. Like, I remember being a little girl, and I remember very, very clearly one of the workers sitting at the kitchen table and bullying my mother, who all she asked, that they're building a shed in the front yard. It's not like they've asked permission, it's just happening. And he decides that it's going to be this color. And he's like, well, every other color of building is green that you're putting up. Can we not have green? And he just doubled down on her, like, how dare you question me? The building will be steel gray. And I mean, I might have been like, this was the dining shed, so I maybe was 12 or 13. I'm 33. I remember the book that he had open and what it looked like and his tone of voice. Like, I remember them coming in, like, we would move out of the house at convention time to a trailer during school and exams, and I would be up alone in the sleeping quarters and not even allowed to use the washroom rubbish bin or garbage can, because it might look dirty when people came for preps. Like, we just we just did that. And like mom would clean the house like she worked so hard and it was never good enough. And I just want people to understand that. Yeah, not really, but like she worked so
you know
hard
what I mean.
and dad worked so hard. Yeah. And I like watching that. It's hard to watch your parents be bullied.
Lindsay was 3 when we moved here, and I was expecting Morgan. That's
Okay.
the age of our children when we moved here.
So Bowen was born while Morgan and Bowen were both born while you guys lived on the grounds. Or I mean, you
Yeah.
still live there. So yeah, lived there. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is your home.
Lindsay was 3 when we moved here. Morgan was born the next year, and then Bowen was born 3 years later. Yeah.
So one
I
other
think
thing
we-
of,
Yeah,
sorry,
go
go ahead, Tina. Yeah, go.
Well, I was gonna add, but like the next question, which I think kind of leads into what Lindsay just said, but did you feel like equal partners with the workers in the decisions that were made about your property? Like we know it as the convention grounds, but really it was your home. More than it was the convention grounds. Like for 11 months of the year, it was your home, right? And
Like we understood that, and it's fine, like there's a fairly big operation going to happen here, and they don't, I didn't feel like, or I didn't want the workers to feel like they had to come and ask me everything that's happening, but on major things it would have been nice to be consulted a little bit. And the first thing the first thing that happened was we arrived here right after convention 1994, and we didn't realize it, but part of the deal was we were to have meeting in our home, like right from the get-go. So here we are, a young couple, and I mean we thought, well, if that's what we're asked to do, that's what we'll do. But I was never all my life, I was never an elder of a meeting, but I always had a meeting in my home. I don't know if that makes sense or not. There was someone else that was the elder, but we were just holding the place, right? Yeah. Yep.
okay, so the meeting was at your home.
Yep.
But you weren't the elder. Someone else
Yep.
would host.
Yeah,
would do
and
it.
that's okay, but it's just so people understand that's the way it was. And
Right. And
yeah.
how long did it stay that way? Like, were you guys ever made
Well, they
elders,
just
or?
it just sort of continued on. There was a few things that happened through the years, but I mean we had every Sunday morning and most Wednesday nights here. And my mom and dad, bless their hearts, took some meetings while we renovated the place, and it was they were sweet. Dad,
We did have meetings here with the tarp between us and the great outdoors.
yeah, seriously. I should have put some pictures up because it was pretty dramatic, but
I also want to clarify that we did buy the property when we moved here.
yeah, we did. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a, I don't know, I hear things secondhand, third hand, but we did purchase the property. We just didn't, we're not squatters.
Yeah, we and it yeah. So
And-
that is
And
sorry, go ahead.
you were like, not that anybody wants to be an elder because that's horrible, like a horrible. Oh, you were made an elder, like in the very last years, not that that's something that you ever wanted, but, when, like, that's just in the latter years, in the last.
So
10 years
last
or
man
so.
standing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know we didn't discuss this ahead of time. So if you don't want to talk about this, then we can move on. And I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
But were
no,
you
that's
financially supported?
yeah. It's okay. I did
Like,
want
were
to
you-
say though about the equal partner thing, that when the meeting shed was proposed, that was 1996. We'd been here for 2 years, and they just come to me and said that they were going to do away with the tent and build a meeting shed. And I said, like, what's wrong with the tent? And well, the tents wore out. And I said, well, I like the tent, and it's temporary. You put it up, have your meetings, take it down, put it away. But the workers didn't like looking after the tent. And I'm sorry if there's any workers listening. It's the truth. You told me you didn't want to listen. You didn't want to be bothered, having to monitor the tent round the clock type of thing. But no, I had no choice. We had a building built. And
We told them the downsides of it.
yeah, we explained the downsides of it. Like, there's upkeep, there's insurance, there's extra taxes. And it really didn't matter. We got a meeting shed. So then, a few years later, they decided that they wanted to build a dining shed. So again, I said no, like, I'm sorry, but my vote is for no. This is gonna be, right down by the road, and it was a pretty elaborate building. But when they approached me about it, they already had the plans drawn up, like they already had the design and everything. And so I didn't fight them. All I did is I just said my piece, said this is why I don't think it's a good idea. And then once I saw the wheels are in motion, there's no fighting it, then I got behind them 100%. Like, I helped them build it, was enthusiastic about it, didn't complain at all. And but just kind of I don't know. I didn't the sheds, like, you have to clean them. And then, between the time prep starts and convention starts, you got to clean them again. Like, there's cobwebs and dirt and stuff gets tracked in. And anyway, it's just, I don't know. We had no choice. That's the way it was going to be. And
So no, we don't feel like
financially,
we're
I mean,
equal
we know that
partners
there's
is a short answer.
financial cost. Sorry, Stacy, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just said, so the short answer is no, we did not feel like equal partners.
Yeah. And were you supported financially?
Some, yeah, not like, so what I said to them, I said, if you want to build, if you want to do this, especially the dining shed, because that was a big deal. And we had got the attention of the property tax people by this time. And I said, if you want to build this, you guys can help. I didn't say, sorry, I've got that wrong. They came to me and said, don't worry about taxes or insurance, we'll look after it. And so they did contribute some through the years towards that. And then, their selling point was that I could store RVs and cars in it. I don't know, some other folks that have had convention buildings on here will attest to that it ain't no picnic storing cars and RVs. Like, I'm moving somebody's $100,000 piece of whatever, and it's this far from somebody else's $100,000 RV, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it, but I have to do it. I have no choice. So since 1996, I've stored RVs and cars in the building, and
To help pay for
things. And like, just to give an example, like, just to mow the lawn, there's over 4, like, you can see the place on Google Earth, you can get an idea what it's like, but there's over 4 acres of lawn. Stacy mows the lawn, and like, it's 5 gallons of diesel and 6 hours, 6-7 hours of work to mow the grass twice a week. And during preps, they would help during preps. Sometimes they would do it all, but then they leave and there's the rest of the year to look after it. And we were told that if we didn't keep it mowed, that, it wouldn't be good for parking cars, like the grass area. And so we just had to do it. And for the record, like, I bought the lawn and garden equipment, like, I bought the lawnmowers, the tractors, everything I bought. There was one tractor, a small tractor here when I arrived, but
I love mowing lawn, but
yeah. Oh dear. So
I think she's frozen.
Venus froze, yeah.
anyway.
Here,
So
where's the video?
We can still see you and hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can.
What we'll just carry on if that's okay.
I think it's good now.
She'll be, are you there now, Tina?
I think she had to drop off. Hopefully she'll
Yeah,
come
she's
out.
probably calling back in, but
Okay,
I
she'll
think
be
it's
back.
best to continue.
Okay,
I don't know what to,
so what was her next question?
I'll look it up, yeah.
She wanted to know.
Um,
Sorry about this, guys, just a second here.
walk them through the sequence of events.
Okay, so yeah, how did it?
Canceled.
So, so what happened with all of this is,
Back to more.
I'm not gonna go back too far, but we noticed kind of like Bill Bryant was the overseer here in the Maritimes. I got along really good with Bill. And you know, I loved him like a father. He was a great guy, as far as I know. Now, that's your disclaimer now, as far as I know. Yeah. And so I'm sorry if somebody knows different, I apologize, but Bill was good to us. And but there came a change, and there was like, we used to look forward to preps like it was the best time of the year for us. The workers that all come, we'd have a lot of fun together, working on things together. There was projects that we worked on together. And we were so naive, like we're very very naive, innocent people. So there was stuff going on even during that time that we had no idea or never would have suspected or thought anything bad was happening. But anyway, so we noticed a change. Our daughter, she offered for the work, and when she came and told me that she felt that she was to go in the work, she may as well told me she had terminal cancer, and I'm not kidding. It was the same feeling, like this, my daughter has died, and and I don't know why, but that's just how I felt. And like for me as a dad, all my hopes for her to whatever she had decided to do with her life, like that, it was gone. And but anyway, the same thing, you get behind it, like be supportive and but she wasn't in the work very long, and we saw a
Morgan
decline.
never,
What's that?
Morgan
Liz?
was never, more people, like I'm the loud one. People knew I existed. Morgan as a child, like she's kind of quirky, but she's always in her room reading. She's black and white as she can be. She didn't want to be in the spotlight. And like the first I knew Morgan was offering for the work was when she tried salmon at preps, because she's really sensitive around her food. But Morgan was not somebody that you go, oh yeah, no, that's definitely somebody going in the work. Like she wasn't, there was nothing, none of that. She's not trying to impress anybody. She's not trying to fit into the mold. It was weird as a sibling and scary because you didn't see her surviving, like, because yeah,
We saw a change in her very shortly, and there just seemed to be a decline in her, and you could tell that she was trying, but there was something wrong when we couldn't really figure it out. And then towards the end, she started opening up to us about things that she saw. And we're like, you gotta be kidding me. Because again, we're very naive, or I am. So I shouldn't speak for Stacy, but for myself, I'm very naive. I typically, give everybody the benefit of the doubt and trust people totally. And so we're pretty floored by the things. And then finally she came and said, there's some stuff going on, like the way that I'm being treated. And I just I'm sorry, but you can be mean to me all you want, but be mean to my wife or my kids. So I said, no, that's it. I said, you need to talk to the overseer, and you also need to please talk to the senior worker here. So Charles O'Rigan is kind of the oldest brother worker here. So, and the thing about Charles is, he knew Morgan from the time she was a baby. And so I knew that whatever Morgan told Charles would trust her, like that she's telling the truth, like it wasn't some made up story. And so Morgan, got it together, called the overseer, and she also got a witness, like her cousin, who was also in the work. They sat together on the call and recorded everything. And so we're all excited thinking that this is going to put it to bed, that the overseer is going to deal with this and everything's going to be okay. And man, what a shock. So at first he agrees, this is abuse. This is horrible what's happening and it needs to stop now. But in this is just speculation, but this is what I think. And maybe you're not supposed to say what you think, but what I think is Morgan's companion at the time, the overseer, displayed clear dislike for this person. She was outspoken. She would stand up to him, and I just feel like he didn't like her, and that may or may not be true, but that's just my gut feeling. And I think possibly that he assumed when Morgan didn't say who the problem was. She just described the behavior. And so when upon hearing the behavior, he, agreed. And the two of them recorded everything. And so he agreed, we have him on the record agreeing that this is, he described it as criminal abuse, was his description of it. And but then Morgan revealed to him who the perpetrators were, and he immediately changed the subject, wouldn't talk about it anymore. And is that how it went, Lindsay? If I got that right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yep.
I know that, I know that I've seen the records and have heard some of the records, and I am after being in the meeting with you guys at Grammy and Grampy's this time last year, I am shocked. I'm actually horrified at the behavior of these people. Because you've got all the pieces now, you can see the parts moving. You can see why they're saying what they're saying you can hardly believe that this is your life and you're watching this happen. Just going yeah.
Okay, so we're getting up to how connection was canceled.
Yeah. So where we go, to kind of move it ahead, there was a complete reversal of direction on the overseer's part. He just tried to ignore it, hope it would go away. And sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you feel comfortable, you can name him.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
If everybody doesn't know Wayne Hutchinson by now, then they haven't been listening.
So the problem, the issue was it's really complicated and there's a lot of backstory, and I don't know how much you want to get into, but there's some other workers that were having issues with the overseer, with Wayne, and there's one brother worker that we loved him. He's gone now, and we thought the world of him. And I spent a lot of time with him, and I never saw for 1 second, I never saw any inappropriate behavior or any issues with him. But he would confide in me the way that he was treated. He was belittled, made fun of, and just basically treated like an idiot. And that he was a very intelligent man. He would come across as being, kind of goofy and colloquial or whatever. I don't know how to describe him exactly, but he was kind. People liked him, and I believe that some of the workers didn't like that. They were either jealous of him or saw him to be a threat. But in my opinion, he was a wonderful man. And same thing, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but so I had that angle too, issues and he described things to me that just shouldn't be amongst the oversight. And so when this fell apart, dealing with Morgan, the we kept trying to move it along, you know, and thought that we could save this, something in.
Well, it was always, we have to wait for, first we had to wait for Ray to come, then we had to wait for
Dale.
Harry to come, then we had to wait for Dale to come. We did a lot of waiting, and with the thought that, when they got here, they'd fix or try and fix a problem. But we also, at that time, this is back in
2020.
2020, we also thought that it was a Atlantic Canada staff problem. Like we were fighting hard to have that fixed. We thought it was just within our staff. So we didn't realize until the big Dean Brewer news broke that it was like way bigger than. We did have a little glimpse when Morgan had trouble in Nova Scotia with from the lady out west, but
Yeah.
that's when she realized that it was bigger than she knew.
And the last sort of like we thought the last straw for Morgan, I believe, was she felt like she had two choices. She either had to get out, or if she stayed, she was just going to become one of them. Like, just accept that this is what it is. We're going to, you know, there's going to be fornication happening between the workers. You know, we're just going to accept that some of the workers are going to molest the French children and you know, sleep with their wives or husbands or whatever the case may be, and that's just the way it's going to be. And she chose to leave. We thought that it was the older sister worker from the west that was the last straw for her, and it kind of tipped the scales. But that was her. And the other problem was Morgan thought, I am, you know, if I'm kind to children and like I know that I'm a safe person, and if I'm kind to children and children trust me, then I'm setting them up to be abused. So there's going to be another worker come along that is not going to be trustworthy. And so she found that she felt like, you know, I'm going to have to start being cold with you know, turn into a grumpy old, because I want to protect these kids from, yeah, anyway. I'm sorry if
There was one question in the chat. Maybe I'll just mention it. So it's Jack Padden, and he said, now that you no longer have the convention, does the minister expect to be paid back for their investment?
So
I don't know what they expect.
Yeah, I don't know. But
but they haven't asked you for money.
No, but see what happened when so Stacy wrote a nice letter of to say, you know, if you want to have convention here, here's our stipulations. Like we did, anybody that's got CSA allegations, not allowed. Anybody that, you know, if you've been convicted, not allowed. If you've been guilty of just moving these people, you know, shuffling them around, if you're in the work and that's what you've done, you're not allowed.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and they shut it down. The workers shut the convention down, and they moved it to a public hall. So I just said, okay, see ya. You know, wouldn't want to be it. And then I went like
I just want to kind of say that louder for the people in the back kind of idea, because there are some like they're not Wayne. I don't think Wayne has had any comments, but his companion has been telling people that you guys shut the convention down. So just to clarify, that was not the case. The Bainbridges did not shut their own convention down. They made very reasonable. I've read the letter, and we can share the link. I'll put it in the comments on the Ontario content, so you can read the link if you haven't already. Very reasonable demands. Like if I recall correctly, Stacy, it was like there's not going to be any Wi-Fi. The walking trails are going to be closed. Anyone with convictions or allegations will not be welcome. Anyone who has covered up allegations, and I think that might have been the one that caused the.
I knew you want to put that one in there. That would be as soon as I said that, I knew that would be the end. But also, they were pretty excited to tell us it was canceled.
Yeah,
because we had one of Dongerville was here with us for quite a while, and
spy for.
he sat here at our kitchen table and told us that Morgan wasn't abused. And this is where it come off the rails. And prior to this, he did support Morgan and what she was doing, and so like this just threw us for a loop. So Bob at that time, it was a supper before Wednesday night meeting, he said, Jean, how can we go forward with convention if there's if we don't settle this and there's
Strife between us.
And there's what word did you use for in the ministry?
Corruption.
Corruption in the ministry.
And that's, you want to get kicked out, that's what you say. There's corruption in the ministry and they'll give you the boot. And
So when they met with us to tell us that convention was canceled the first time, we met not here, but at Bob's mom and dad's, just so that we'd had other people with us, and Lindsay and Cameron were on the phone. And yeah, they were pretty excited to tell us. And I said to them, so why are you canceling all conventions or just ours? No, it's just Woodstock. And I said, can you tell us why you're canceling Woodstock? Well, because Bob said that there was
corruption in the
ministry. So I said, well, can anybody around this table right now? So there's Charles O'Regan, Jean Greville, Jonathan Freeburn, John and Sharon Bainbridge, Lindsay and Cameron were on the phone, and us. And I said, is anyone? And no one could disagree with that yet, because Bob said it out loud. Woodstock convention was canceled.
They had, when we sent the letter out with the stipulate, there was kind of a back and forth, like they left. The thing is I think, like, I don't know where Jonathan stands exactly. I think he might have a bit of a conscience, and but he said that when they left, they felt really bad, like when they left from telling us that convention was done. And so when I talked to him the next day, and I pleaded with him, I said, like, if you want us to, like, we'll move. The convention belongs to the Friends, not us. And I said, well, we'll move. And because that was one of the things they said, the Friends there's some of the Friends that are uncomfortable being like with you guys. And I said, that's fine. I said, just like, we'll move. So he called the next day and said that it was undecided, like they had felt bad about it and was undecided. But then Stacy sent that letter with the stipulations, and they already had another place. They called, like, it was an immediate response, and they had another place all lined up. So they intended to shut it down all along, I think.
So it wasn't long after, I believe, like after you went ahead and told them that, like these were the conditions, and they said that they were removing the convention. You texted Jonathan, is that right, Stacy, and said that if you don't feel comfortable having convention at our house, then maybe you don't feel, or if the Friends don't, that maybe you don't feel comfortable having Sunday morning meeting here.
We sent them that. I said, if people are uncomfortable with this, then we can't interfere with people's Sunday morning meeting, you'll have to put it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And they immediately had it moved.
Yeah.
And then what happened with your parents, Bob? Like, because
basically, mom and dad, they had the same experience as us. Like they saw issues, and it's like a whole bunch of little things, but when you pile them all up, it's a big thing. And so this was the last, the meeting at their place with the workers where they canceled convention. Mom and dad are on here somewhere, but I think that was kind of they saw and also the mistreatment of their granddaughter. And same with Stacy's parents, same thing. I'm sorry, but we're out.
So how many in your family? I think Donna told me there's 14, right? There's 14 Bainbridges no longer, or well, like,
I don't know the numbers.
That's okay. No worries. Yeah. I thought I heard 14, but maybe it's more even. I don't know. But
in Stacy's family, there's quite a few as well. Because Alana's story is part of this as well. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Anyway, thank you. But it just seemed like, if I recall correctly, like they moved you guys to your mom and dad's meeting, right? And then moved everybody out of your mom and dad's meeting. Did I understand that
Well,
correctly?
they
Or
said unless I don't remember what it was, because we never ever did whatever it was they said. I can't remember where we're supposed to go or do, but it never really happened, I don't think. With anybody else either, I don't think so. Cause like we had Sunday morning meeting here. And some that were coming here for meeting before we sent the letter out, decided they were gonna I think their statement was they're gonna step back
Yeah.
and
Let God look after it.
God look after
Oh
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard
So,
that a lot.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So, but there was they were scheduled to have a union meeting at their home. And so I was wondering what they would do. They wouldn't come here for meeting, but I don't mean this, like, if anybody's listening connected, I don't mean this in any accusatory way. This is just the way it looked to us. I'm not blaming them at all. But, they wouldn't come here for meeting, but when the scheduled union meeting was to be at their home, they had it and everything was fine, and then, so I asked the gentleman several times, called him and said, is there any problem between us? Like, do you have any issues? And that was the only thing he would say, is that for God to look after it. And, I don't agree. Like, I mean, God will look after it because he'll tell us what we need to do. And I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I said something similar when the FBI investigation was started. I put a post on Facebook, like, if you really think that, you need to stand back and just let God handle it, like, just, you need to maybe reread Hebrews 11. And, because when does God ever expect people to just sit back and let him handle it? He handles things by having people act, right? Like, people take a stand and take action and whatever. But anyway, there is a message from Rose, and I think you know Rose. Well, I know you know Rose Harrison. She's Stacy and Vera Lynn's daughter. So I'll just
Hi,
read it to
Rose.
you in chat. Yeah, we've become really good friends in the last little while, so I'm happy she's on here. But she said, it's poignant to me that subsequent convention owners made the exact same stipulations later on in the summer, and those were deemed acceptable. I cannot imagine the price that Bob, Stacy, Morgan, and the whole family have paid for their insistence on accountability, sending them a massive hug from a fellow Miramichier. So
Thank you.
Thank you. That's sweet.
But in reality, I'm glad it came down that way. I'm glad that convention wasn't here. I'm
yeah,
glad it's over.
yeah.
Well, like my concern was, so just to kind of go back to when I was a kid, I remember, like my mom and dad had he was a school teacher and he had some coworkers, and they would often do things together, go for a picnic or go snowmobiling or do some sort of thing together. And so their children and us would be together, and they were great people. Like, there were never any issues, nothing. They were awesome people. But they were young. Mom and dad were newly professing, and they hadn't fell into the mold, that you don't fraternize with the world. So it wasn't very long, and we just didn't do anything with them anymore. So I remember talking to the workers one time and saying, what about these people? Like, there's people that I know that don't go to meeting, and they're a lot better living people than I am. And what's going to happen to them? Are they all going to hell? And the answer was that, if they're honest in heart, and everybody is probably here has heard the same spiel, if they're honest in heart, they'll become dissatisfied with what they have, and they'll be searching for what's right. And, God will send the workers to them, and they'll professing whatever, and it'll be a, happy ending.
Kumbaya.
Kumbaya. So here we all are. Here we all are. We see corruption in what we have. Mom just put a post up there.
yeah, I see it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll just read that out for everyone in case you're not seeing the chats. And some people I know dialed in, not on the computer, but Sharon just wrote, and that this is Bob's mom. John Gravel sent a brief cold message to tell us that the folks would no longer be coming to our meeting. Never told us where they would be going, just took our meeting away with an email message.
that's what you get for being critical. But the point of us being critical wasn't to find fault. It was to try to help, like to make this better.
Mhm.
We were trying to fix it. And there's a lot of friends that are still trying to fix it, and bless their hearts. Like I applaud I really do. I applaud their efforts because
So I just have to clarify because there's a lot of Southern American people on here. And when Bob says bless your heart, it's not the same way when you guys say bless your heart. Just like he's meaning it like genuinely bless your heart. Just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
that.
Dad doesn't know how to be mean, just so you know.
Thanks, Owen.
Oh dear. Yeah.
So the last question that we had discussed, and then we'll open it up for everyone else on the call if you want to add questions. What I'll say is if you when we get to that point, like just raise your hand or put it in the chat, and we'll try and like take them one by one. But the very last question that I had that Bob and Stacy and I have discussed is, what does serving God look like to you now?
So I'm not gonna tell you that all things are wonderful, you know, and
No,
it's so
no.
much better or whatever. No, this is a painful process. Like it's like going through a bad breakup or I don't know how to even describe it. It hurts a lot, and because part of it is this. Like here we have a whole group of people that care for each other. You know, are kind. They're like this whole system kind of attracted uh, some really nice people. You know, there's a really wonderful group of people that were drawn into this, um, and I miss them. I really do, and so that's my honest opinion. But as far as serving God, how that feels is completely different. Because now I don't think all my neighbors are going to hell. I, you know, and honestly, I did that's there's no, it's either one or the other. There's no way to reconcile that. And so I don't judge any of them now. I think they all have as good a chance of salvation as I do. And it's not up to me, it's up to God. And my trust is no longer in whether I show up for meeting or not. It's whether I love, whether I love following Jesus in my daily life. Talking to God is no more like, say your prayers in the morning and at night because you feel like you're going to go to hell if you don't. Now it's talk to God like pretty often through the day and ask him for, what am I going to, and one of the things I noticed right away is I used to think God was Santa Claus, and like you'll laugh, but it's true. Like when I would pray, I would have a whole list of this, this is what I need. I need you to help so-and-so and help so-and-so and help so-and-so. And now I believe God, I don't like to say anything definite, but I believe that God has shown me that, what I need to pray is, I was thinking about so-and-so, what can I do? What would be a good thing to do? Can you please show me something that I can do to be a help to them? And so it's a completely different perspective. And now, like, there was no community outreach for us. Like this is what we did. We looked after the convention grounds through the year, nothing else. So, somebody's house burns down, somebody's sick with cancer. Well, they were going to hell anyway, and we don't care about them. Like,
Not below that.
not really, but that's kind of that's the way you are, right? So now, all of a sudden, I'm a part of my community. I have and you care, you look around you and you see things that you can do to be a help to people, and being kind doesn't cost one thing. You can be kind to everybody. Like, the homeless guy on the street, you can sit down to his level and be kind to him. And there's good people out there
It's not
in
so much
bad
sitting down to
situations.
their level, it's bringing them up to you.
Yeah, or I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't mean. Sorry, that was kind of condescending, but you know what I mean.
No,
Like
I knew you didn't mean it that way, but
they're
yes, thanks for
they're no longer invisible to us. They're part of our community, and everybody has a story. One of the things that really there's a few things that opened my eyes, but one of them was we visited the big there's a big cathedral in Montreal, the St. Joseph's Cathedral, and in the cathedral, there's it's built on a cliff, like on a wall. And in the cathedral, there's a little alcove. And inside the alcove, there's a statue of the Virgin Mary. So we're in this cathedral just looking around because it's a pretty remarkable building. And so I go into this little alcove, and there's a man on his knees sobbing, like he's not putting on a show. He is brokenhearted. He's just on his knees, just sobbing in front of this statue of the Virgin Mary. And I was completely condemned because, like, I don't remember ever praying like that. And I don't remember ever being that sincere. And here I am, I'm thinking, well, he's just an old Catholic, but it matters. And then we were on the street where the kids live in Christchurch, and we're just walking down the street one Saturday evening, and there's a community group that goes around and serves meals to homeless people there. And so that we didn't really realize what was going on, but there's a whole bunch of homeless people and somebody serving meals to them. And one of the homeless people looked at us and asked us to join them. Like, have you had your dinner yet? Or is dinner yet? Or anyway, or tea. Yeah, that's what they call it, tea in New Zealand. Yeah. So have you had tea yet? And waving you over to come. And like I started to cry. Like I've been a horrible person. I really have. I've been because of this, whatever this is. And so I feel a complete change that way. I really do.
Like, especially like for the admin team on CCF, we've had a lot of conversations. And one of the things that, and we've seen the conversations with a lot of people on CCF as well, is that exclusivity is really the root of a lot of this. Right, like if not all of it. I mean, really, it's like just believing this one true way. And I saw someone put in, I think on one of the Facebook groups, that like if we really believed this one true way is the only way for salvation, that means less than 1 in 100,000 people in the entire world would have salvation. Like it's kind of arrogant, isn't it? Like so it's like Rose put in here about freed from blind traditions, chains, and it does feel like chains have been broken. And Sean Arnhaus, I said Sean, I'm sorry, I just butchered your name, I'm sorry. But anyway, Sean, he put in here, if the abuse could be fixed, would you go back to meeting?
So here's the scoop.
For me, no.
Yeah. So here's the thing. And when the Dean Brewer story broke, I called up Ray Hoffman, and like very shortly after. And so Ray and I had talked a lot together. And so I called him up and I said, Ray, and this is when your son, Tina, had the Discord group going.
Yes.
So Boen was in on that. And everybody is talking about this, right? And so I called Ray and I said, Ray, and I'm sorry, I was I don't know if it's disrespectful or what, but anyway, I said, Ray, did you say your prayers this morning? And he's, very grave. Oh, yes, I did. And I said, well, I'd like you to do me a favor and go say them again. And I said, because you have the opportunity to speak in the largest gospel meeting you've ever spoken in your entire life. I said, everyone in the world is listening for what you're going to say right now. And and people that have been professing, that have left, there's former workers, and this is exactly what I told him, pretty much word for word. And I didn't tell him what he had to say. I just told him that he had a very important message to give to these people that are confused, hurt, wounded, the people that have been abused. Everybody is listening to see what you're going to say. And he didn't say anything. So I texted him a picture of a cricket. So then I waited a couple of days and I texted him another picture of 2 crickets, the little emojis. And so then I said to him, I said, Ray, you could have fixed this, but you didn't. And I said, not only did you not say anything, you didn't even show up for the meeting. And I said, you are a pathetic man. And that was the day that I left, and I'll never be back. Because what he could have said, this is what he could have said that would have fixed everything. He could have said, we have made a terrible mistake. We have tried to cover up things to try to preserve our place, to try to preserve the image of this. And it's clear that we've made terrible mistakes, and we resign. And if he'd have done that, I would still be going to meeting. That's the truth. And yeah. But he didn't. And then, so then they come back with, oh, well, we're all taking ministry safe. And I don't want to, I don't want to make up any disparaging remarks about ministry safe, except that it's just a starting point. It's just the beginning. It's to make people aware of the problem that could arise. And then it should be an ongoing thing. And
Already taking ministry safe?
yes, they were. And the problem with Ministry Safe is, in my opinion, it gives a pedophile, like pedophiles are evil people. I'm sorry, but I mean, just think about it. It's not, it will actually give them the tools that they need to be able to be more deceitful or whatever, or to learn how to, I don't know. I don't really understand it, but it's horrible.
It's kind of like watching serial killers. They like to watch serial killer shows. It's the same idea, They're just getting ideas on how to get away with it.
I just want to say this, that I know at one of the, I guess it was at Eller's house, they took this, I don't know if actually if it was ministry safe, but I think it was ministry safe.
Ministry Safe, yeah.
The staff, and very shortly, I don't know if it's the same day or next day, Morgan witnessed one of the brother workers in a cabin with a 8-year-old
Girl.
by themselves. So you tell me what good, that was very fresh in their minds. What good ministry safe? If they want to do stuff, they will do stuff. That's not like, I'm sorry, I don't. It might give people an idea of what to look for. I don't know what the.
But that was the day. Sorry, go ahead, Tina.
No, I don't want to cut you off. There was a question, but you go ahead and finish what you're going to say, and then I'll.
That was the day that there was no turning back from that, as far as I'm concerned. And
The answer to that
yeah,
question.
but one of the things that happened is they try to say that, like, that Dean Brewer, well, the friends, who chose Dean Brewer as an overseer? And they will say, well, it was the friends, or everybody spoke well of him or whatever. But we had a worker here, Roger Ramsden, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And he went on he spoke very clearly about how the procedure of how this is done. And he talked about just choosing an elder for a meeting. And I'm assuming this would have been in the Alberta area or something. But anyway, the head workers all got together and they talked about all of these potential men to choose as an elder. And they kept discounting people, and finally they got down to, there was two men, and he said they were just really good, solid men. And then they got down to the details, really got into, and this was his sermon. So I'm sorry, the overseers were chosen, and I think they know, and there's a whole lot more to this story, it's scary. Yeah, we don't need to get into that, but it's
Allegedly,
yeah. But a man, like a man that stands up in front of a congregation preaching like God's word, supposedly, all the while looking out on the congregation and checking out the elders or the congregants' wives, or whatever his preference is, or looking at the children lasciviously. He is not a man with a weakness. He is an instrument of Satan, as far as I'm concerned. That's the devil may as well be up there. And the reason that the devil would do this is because he wants to get these people, he's telling them the truth. What he's saying is right. But he wants people to trust in a system rather than to trust in the blood of Jesus. It's as simple as that. So if you can trust it, so now we're living proof. We have people that are scared. Well, I can't stop going to meeting because, well, I'm just going to go to hell if I don't go to meeting. I got to go to gospel meeting, or I got to, so that's the whole, that's what you're held by, the feeling that you have to go to meeting. Well, then you don't trust Jesus. That's would be my answer to that one. And I'm not, this is sort of my own, I don't mean to be accusing people or anything, but that's just the way I see it, that there's.
Well, I'm sure others agree with me that we all appreciate you speaking plainly. I think we've all had enough of platitudes and euphemisms to last a lifetime. That's my thought. But what, David and Monica Acola put in the chat that they've really appreciated the letter Alana wrote last April, and you mentioned her story as a part of this too. And I understand she was given an ultimatum. If that's not on the table for discussion, totally understand. But she's wondered who gave an ultimatum. That's fine.
Yeah, it's not our story to tell, but
that's kind of how I saw it too.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to read that out. But no, I understand that completely. So we're through the questions that the three of us discussed. So if anyone has any questions, then like I said, if you can raise your hand or put it in the chat, we'll make sure that we try and get to as many of them as we can. We have almost an hour left, and thanks again to Bob and Stacy, because it's like 10 o'clock down there. So.
Well, that's okay. This is really this is the most important thing that we're going to do for a few days, for sure. Yeah. And I'm happy to answer any questions, for or against. I've got nothing to hide or anything. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So Claude's just giving instructions on how to raise your hand. So there's a little reactions button, and if you click on that little arrow, then then it can raise your hand for you. So. And also you can type it in the chat. So Sean wants to know, did the abuse reveal exclusivity, or did you admit we were exclusive before the abuse was known?
Sorry, I didn't quite get that.
So when you became aware of the abuse, is that what helped you to realize like that exclusivity was a part of this church, or did you
exclusivity as in
like
the one true way? Did you know
No, we knew that before.
Yeah, this had been going on in my mind for quite a while. Yeah, there was little things that would happen that I'm like, I'm sorry, but yeah, I bailed on the exclusivity doctrine a long time ago.
I am there with you, like, you kind of knew it was a thing, and then there's like, oh well, I'm just gonna leave that with God, he'll deal with it. And Rose has her hand up, so your fellow Mashir. You're just on mute.
So what was Rose's question?
Hi guys, I put in the chat. It's real good to hear your Miramichi accent.
Oh wow!
How is she going?
How's she going, everybody?
It's been a few. Out here in the West, there's a very different story going around about Wayne's transfer. And I would actually like to hear the honest truth about why Mr. Hutchison now is in the West, as opposed to the story the friends are being told in these parts, if you feel comfortable.
There were a pile of issues, like a big pile of issues, and way like
you ready for towel?
Morgan.
So
no, go ahead. You guys are muted. I'm not sure what happened, but you're muted.
Thank you. So yeah, there were a lot of issues, and I can't speak to them all because they're not all, not all our, it's not all our story to tell. But I do know that there was, there's, as far as I know, there's no impropriety. Just that negligence. That I don't, anyway, you told me that I can't mince or not supposed to mince words. So in my opinion, this is my opinion. There's, I think it's Proverbs 6. I don't know the verse exactly. The things that God hates, proud look, lying tongue, hands swift to shed innocent blood, he that sows discord among the brethren. There's, let's see, there's 7 of them all together, right? Anyway, in my opinion, that describes Wayne Hutchison quite well. And so is like that kind of man.
So I think Lindsay
Shouldn't be
would
an overseer.
I
Yeah.
think Lindsay would be all right with us telling, this is just one incident that happened here.
Yeah.
Lindsay and Cameron moved here and built a mini home on our property. Eric Lockhart did lots to help with that, digging ditches and, but we heard secondhand, not from Wayne himself, that he was furious mad that we would do that, that's not our place for somebody else to move on our property. So he sent one of the brother workers up to Lindsay and Cameron's and told them that don't think that you are going to be taking over the convention grounds.
The workers will decide.
The workers will decide who's going to be living here. So that was devastating for Cameron and Lindsay, that they weren't welcome here on our property. They built a mini home so it could be moved, just in case things didn't work out. But that was not Wayne's business.
No,
This is our property. But that is a one example of he just thought he run everything. He wanted us moved off of here. He told Bob's mom and dad he had someone in mind. But when we talked to him before he went west, he couldn't recall that. Didn't remember that. There was a lot of things he didn't remember. But like, that's just one example of what he did.
so he
here.
had someone in mind, but then now that you guys have the property up for sale, those people have not.
Nobody. Since none of the workers have reached out, I shouldn't say none, but there is a couple exceptions to that. And I'm not looking for, like, there's nothing, I said, some of those workers have been here for 30 years, pretty near. Every year for a month or 2 out of the year and never reach out, like never support you. But as far as Wayne, that's just one example that I know from us. There are 2 examples. He tried very hard to get us out of here, to move us, but like you say, Tina, there's nothing. Now nobody wants.
It's kind of dug in, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Good night.
good night. Thanks for coming by. Yeah,
Questions?
Thanks for coming.
goodbye
Bowen.
from Bowen. Yep.
Bye, Bowen.
Yeah. So
So I don't know if that really answers your question or not about him moving west. I think it come down to. There's probably people on here that know more than
Yeah.
why he was moved west.
the other thing, like just from my perspective, is he seemed to support, people that had accusations of pedophilia, or I shouldn't say he seemed to, he did. Offered to go to court as give a character witness in one instance. He
But I don't know if that's why he was moved. I think
yeah
he also sowed a lot of discord amongst the staff.
yeah
Like he played with them, like sometimes you'd be his buddy and another time you wouldn't be his buddy, and it was like a game.
yeah. There's a big story, like a big backstory. Everybody's got a Wayne story. My good buddy Clinton Jacques, he has a Wayne story. And
Clinton's parents are on the call, and so is his brother. So
yeah. Anyway, yeah, everybody's got a story, but our story with Wayne is that when Morgan first went into work, she was at Eller's House Convention, and Bowen, my son that was just here, he wanted to go down he wanted to go down to, you know, a little bit early to help out at preps and be with his sister some and whatever. And so we thought, you know, what a great idea.
Come at
Yeah,
convention.
you know, what harm could come at convention grounds? Well, guess what? When he arrived there, he was put in the sleeping quarters with a convicted pedophile. True story. Who attempted to rape him.
Oh
He's
my
gone
God,
now,
I'm so
so.
sorry. I'm
Yep.
so sorry, Bob.
And Wayne knew that he was there. And
Wow.
when Boen went to the workers to talk about it, most of them said, "Oh, well, you know, this guy's a little simple, and you got to give him, you know, make allowances for him." The owner of the convention grounds, when she found out, she was furious. I think she would have killed him.
Well, we're not
And
gonna.
I'm not going to say that, but I do know that she was furious, and she like, what is this young man doing in the sleeping? Like, what is that guy doing in the sleeping quarters? She just had a fit. But anyway, that's enough of that story. But that was all on Wayne's watch. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
everybody knew. Yeah.
That's just heartbreaking. I mean, I have no words.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
Anyhow, and then a couple years later, he showed up here for convention, and Boen ran him off. Basically told him to leave, and the congregation here was probably split about 50-50, you know, whether Boen should have sent him home or not.
We weren't here at the time.
we're dear. Anyway, it's sad.
Someone is mentioning a question from Daryl. Daryl, I'm sorry, it's further up in the chat and I don't see it. Can you maybe just say it or retype it?
Hello, Ina.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hi.
Yeah, I was just asking if Wayne has made any attempt at reconciliation since all this happened. That was just my question.
Oh,
We're
thank
up
you.
west here and we're in Wayne's field.
Yeah.
Park.
So, my mom could help you out with that question, but no,
We met with him before he left here to go west.
and
So,
we,
Mom, I've seen a screenshot in the last month of Wayne spreading discord about our family to the friends. So no,
But
the
I,
answer
like,
would be no.
but no, but we did meet with him before he left, and he did nothing but lie. I guess I can only use the right word, his lie.
my mom sat at the table and openly cried and pleaded with him to make things right. And he
And
just sat like a stone.
your parents were really close to Wayne, right? Like
Yes.
their
He spent a lot of time there.
home.
Yeah, spent a lot of time there. Yeah.
So no, I guess the answer is no, he has not.
So there's another question here from Trevor and Heather Prague, and I guess they have some family that have a convention grounds, but they said, do the convention ground owners realize the liability of having anyone come on their property? My brother's grounds have had incidents over the years, but they trust Uncle Jim. I'm sorry, I'm not from the West, so I guess that's Jim. I can't remember Jim's last name, sorry guys. But anyway, they trust Jim. So Atchison, right? I think that's right, yeah. So were you aware of the liability? I saw that
No.
Diane answered that yes.
We had no, like, we didn't, so we actually called a lawyer when, you know, when the Dean Brewer scandal broke, we called a lawyer and said, you know, what do we do? And she said, if you know, you're on the hook. If you turn over the responsibility to someone else who you know is not being careful, you're on the hook.
Well, that was part of the reason I put that in the letter that I wrote with the stipulations. I put in that they would have to inform everybody coming to convention, and then they would have to reinforce that information at convention, because she said that's one thing you could do to try and protect yourself, is that everybody knows. But she said that they still could come back. Like it's not a guarantee. So that was why that's why we put those that stipulation out there, they're not welcome, like it.
And apparently you can get liability insurance for it. It's
But I said, when you start watching people, if you start making lists and depending on people to check in and check out, and really, is there not alarm bells going off?
Yeah.
And these people are very slick. I've seen them in action, and they can do it right in front of your eyes, and you'll not know. Like,
Well, but even if they're not physically doing something, we had experience I think it was the last convention that was held here. We have like a little play area for the kids that has like swings and a sandbox and stuff. Bob witnessed a man doing something like, why is a 60-year-old man hanging out around the sandbox or standing back watching the kids
yeah.
inappropriately?
So I just challenged him, asked him like, what are you doing? And he had some story, what was going on. And I just made him feel uncomfortable enough that he left. But, you can picture a bunch of little kids, the little girls with their dresses on, and they're playing, and there's this filthy old man there leering at them. I don't want that on my property. I'm sorry, but I didn't, it's not nice.
And like, so are the parents even noticing that that's even going on? Like, I'm sorry that those people are there and that's what's in their heads. I don't want it here.
So,
I mean, we lived there with our little girl for 3 years when she was a toddler. So not only at convention, like that was her home, and that was my home as a little girl. I felt safe to go anywhere, and I probably was quite bold, and I'm really like, I didn't, like you guys know what it's like. You trust and you love these people. You feel safe. And so you're in your own home. Your little girl's playing outside. Like, you can't be everywhere all the time. But it's knowing, like, I have a book. I love my grandmother. I have a book under our coffee table right now, and I'm keeping it because it is evidence of every worker that's been on it. It was on the grounds up to the point that we got married.
They were all here. The hit list, they were all here, every one of them. And something really horrible happened to Boen when he was 6 years old. And I have my suspicions. He's gone under hypnosis to try to get it out of him, to get a name. But he had a dirt bike when he was 6. So we had walking trails, and he used to go out and drive around on the walking trails. And I strongly suspect that somebody got him. And so with him, I mean, everybody know. Anyway, it's a life sentence. I'm sorry, but if you're molested as a child, it's a life sentence, and I hope and pray that people will be able to recover from it and live somewhat normal lives, but it affects you really bad. And we've seen it. Like and Lindsay, she was a little girl here, and we trusted. She was out around everywhere, just like a little honeybee spreading joy. And who we don't know. Bless her heart. But anyway.
All I know is I've lived, like, I was a happy little girl, and around 9 years old started to have treatment for severe anxiety. And I have managed to like get into adulthood and get married, I mean, go to school and get an education, but it has not been without a fight. And I mean, even in my job about a week ago, something happened and it triggered me, and you have a panic attack in front of your coworkers and your colleagues, and it's how are you supposed to live a normal life when you've been manipulated. Like, I calculated the amount of years that I have had with workers on our property with access to me as a child. And sometimes like I spent every day in the cookhouse helping whoever was in there. I remember being 7 years old and being in workers' bedrooms by myself with them. Because
we had that unconditional trust, right? Like we all had that.
We did too when we moved here. Like that's how I said I hate to use the word groom because I feel like we don't, but that I feel like that's what we were as a family. We're groomed onto this on the ground that whatever they wanted, like they got.
But just as I don't want to tar them all with the same brush
Yeah,
either.
Oh, no,
Because
no.
that like don't think that I'm speaking out against the workers in general, because I mean there are so many that we love and cherish still, and I miss them. But I will not support this. I will not. No way. And if they choose to continue to support it, that's okay. But well, I'm sorry, but we can't be friends. That's it's sad, but you have to be, we have to, we can, I will not support it. And I think
So-
it's rotten from the top down.
I don't know, and we can move on from this if this is too uncomfortable. But you know that Dorothy is here in Ontario. She's not on the staff right now, but her name is still on our list.
Nice.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like, do you have any words of advice for anyone? Like, I just feel like I got a message from a friend of mine and I was so concerned by what she had to say. Like, she was just like at a get together and Dorothy was there and just like, she's got a good sense of humor and she's saying like it was just like a lot of fun. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, do you not understand,
She
like-
absolutely is.
Yeah.
She absolutely can be that person, but I just say be careful is all I can say.
So,
She's a master at what she does. I know there's people on here that could speak more to what she is, but she is a master at what she does.
I just wanted to say about her, like Morgan's request to Wayne was, please have her step down from the work and go get some psychiatric help. Because Morgan knew that if a psychiatrist looked at her and interviewed her, that that the psychiatrist would be very clear that the work is no place for this personality. And like Morgan trusted that. She said, if you get her, what's the word, assessed by a professional, the professional's recommendation should be that this person shouldn't be in this role. But the other thing is I believe there's a path to redemption for everybody. I don't care what you've done. And as far as I'm concerned, I could be wrong, but I think that Judas even has possibility, might be in a saved eternity. And I mean that I'm not just trying to be funny. But when people commit a crime, like a crime against a child or even a crime against another person, there's consequences to that will be with you the rest of your life. And you can't expect other people to just forget about it. They can forgive you, but they may never trust you again. And
That's okay.
that's okay. Yep, that's perfectly okay, is in my opinion anyway. And I know that like if somebody accuses a person of something, like there's a whole yeah, sure, you want peace, you want things to go well, and you want everybody to get along and be happy and whatever, but there's consequences to your actions. And
So with her, we were told many, many times, well, we have to show mercy. We have to show mercy. We have to show mercy to her. And don't you want to show her mercy? Well, I'm sorry, but allowing somebody to continue to harm other people is not showing them mercy.
Yes, exactly.
And what about mercy for the victims? Where's the mercy in that? allowing somebody to do wrong is not showing mercy. I'm sorry, like, in my opinion.
Mhm. No, I
So-
agree 100%.
Yeah.
Like
So I
you're not
don't
doing
know.
them any favors by.
No,
Yeah,
allowing
but
them
as
to
far
continue.
as her performance, she's brilliant at it. So yes, she will fool many.
And just I know that like I think everybody on this call has empathized and cried over your story, and so just can you just tell us, like, I know that it's a long road to recovery, and it's an ongoing thing, but how is Morgan doing?
Lindsay might be able to answer that more.
yeah, Lindsay, Lindsay's in the same neighborhood, so.
My take on it would be she's come a long ways. And her therapist will tell you that,
Mhm.
but she still has scars that affect.
She's still very angry. Yeah, go ahead, Lindsay.
So Morgan, kind of with Morgan's recovery and Morgan getting out here is actually quite an interesting story in itself. We live in New Zealand, and I don't know if many of you followed this story about New Zealand and COVID, but the borders here were like locked shut. People could not get into New Zealand, like even to access their children that like if they had divorced their partner and were living overseas, children weren't able to go. Like it was tricky. There were some real weird things going on. You had to get you had to be a citizen or a permanent resident to get in and out of the country, and you also had to win a lottery system to get into the managed isolation to come back into the country. And so there were exemptions to it, and we were really worried about Morgan and how she was doing. Like I was talking to her on the phone while kind of this was all coming to like happening, and so she went home, and I said, well, why don't you just come out and just get some space, and like space can help a lot. And so she applied for an exemption, and our daughter is neurodivergent, and so I included that in the application package, and like not long later we get a message back saying that you know, can we have more information on Morgan's health and some other stuff. And so she gets into the country when people are not able to come to New Zealand. Like there are New Zealanders who aren't even getting home, and Morgan gets a visa to come. So then at the same time we're applying to both of us are applying to get into managed isolation, and we get she gets one, and then I get one, and then we get one sooner together. And so we managed. So Rika and I flew home during COVID, and I don't know if anybody on the call has a child that has autism, but trying to get a stick up their nose is pretty difficult. So we flew home and got Morgan, and flew back to New Zealand, and it was 10 days in a hotel. And I was writing my master's paper, and my sister is in the next room. We had a joined room, stuck in the hotel room for 10 days. And at that point, she still felt like she so ridiculous. You're flying overseas, you're wearing like 2 KN95 masks because you don't want to end up in the hotel for longer, and she still feels like she's got to wear a skirt over leggings on the plane because that's still so in her brain. And I remember like she still was a shell of who she was before. Like I felt like we lost her. Like her personality was gone. And she started talking about 6 months in, just kind of about some things, just really loosely. And she said, you know, when I first came out and we went home after managed isolation, when I was walking down the street, I felt like I was doing something wrong, because sometimes with one of my companions, I wasn't even allowed to go to this, like, the pharmacy to get toothpaste because that was a waste of money. So, and she wasn't allowed to get herself new clothes when she needed new clothes. And she wasn't like, so she said, I would be walking down the street and I would feel like I was doing something wrong and the police were going to come get me. And she said, before I was home, like when I was home, I felt like this person might come to my window at night and try to spy on me sleeping, because they would come into my room when I was sleeping and watch me sleep when I was in the work. Like I was stalked even by my companion in the work. So then we realize there's a problem, right? Like it's like beyond just she's been being bullied, she's being watched while she's like, there's just, and so my husband's a really kind guy, and he's possibly, well, not just possibly, he's just a good guy, and he's been really good for Morgan. They've got a really nice connection. So he would just sit and listen to her for hours talk about this stuff, and sometimes it would be too upsetting for me. And then she got a job and started therapy because she could afford to go to therapy. And then we just started seeing she had been vomiting every day for 2 years at that stage, like in the work, vomiting. And it was really weird. Like you'd be driving down the street and you'd see a couple holding hands, and I'd have to pull over the car and she would vomit like out the side of the vehicle because her boundaries had been crossed. And the thought of intimacy to her just made her panic. And so she just was constantly vomiting. And at this point, we were still going to the meetings, and the workers came to visit, and she just was back and forth to the washroom vomiting. And I just was like, this is not good. So she went and she started therapy, and it's been so good. She's had the same therapist for a couple of years now. And I have a sister who's like got friends, and like this sounds so stupid. She has friends and she goes to the mall and she like goes rollerblading and has a job. And like my little girl, who is like a real quirky little thing, but she's amazing. Like I could ask for no one else to be such a good role model to her. And like they're close, they're tight. And that's beautiful for me because I never thought that was going to happen with her in the work. Because she was actively encouraged to cut off ties with us. And so knowing that my little girl can have that connection, and I've got my sister, like at first I felt guilty, right? Like being happy that I had my sister. But then like it's so beautiful to see your child and somebody you thought you lost like their personality and who they were forever, and now we've just got this really awesome person. And like I am so thankful, and I tell her this all the time, I am so thankful that she spoke, because my little girl is very conscientious and could end up in the exact same situation that she was in. And I would have hoped and prayed that my child would, you know, like you don't go in the work because, I mean, I hope people don't go in the work because they're bad people, but she said like, you cannot be part of that and not become part of the abuse. Like you can't. So there comes a part there. She said there came a point where it was very clear to her that she either decided to leave or she would become like the people who were abusing her, because there's no way to survive in the system. And so she's still got some things to work on, like and she's still got she still goes to therapy and she looks forward to going to therapy every week. But we've got a whole person now. Like, she's holding down a job. She's been promoted from like a sous chef to like running a really, really successful kitchen in a nice, well, they call them cafes here, but they would be more like a restaurant at home. Like, they have it's more like a daytime restaurant, I guess, but like really successful restaurant. And like, I'm like, who thought that 2 years ago that a shell of a person could do that? So it's been a real journey here, watching that happen and go through. Like, I know we hurt her too, because like, I feel guilty because we were still going to the meeting and like trying to like, you're feeling guilty because like, here Morgan stepped away from going to meeting, and you don't realize the whole story, or like, and we're still thinking you can save it, like we can fight it, you know, like, look, somebody over here is doing this little thing and it might help, and there's some hope here because there's this group been set up and people are getting behind it and they're angry, and they're gonna, you know, they're gonna make a change for the better. And you're just, because it's a culture you've been born into and lived with, and this is your whole life that you've put into this thing, and you've been taught that your salvation is caught up in it, and or you feel like that because of the way it's been spoken about. And so then when she stops going, you feel like, oh no, like maybe we've, like, she's, you know, you're worried about her, so you're encouraging her to go. And that, like, I feel like such a jerk. I really do, because I know that was hard for her, and I tried not to say anything in that time period, right? But she knows that you're still going to the meeting and you're feeling that a little bit. So now I get it. Because we have people who reach out to us and encourage us to go, and now I get it. That actually, no, I can't go, because if I were to walk through the door of a meeting where workers are welcome that have done these things, it's not okay. I mean, I was going to a meeting where the elders of the house they have 2 children, not too far from where I am right now, dead in the ground because of CSA. So I'm sorry, but what does it take for people to wake up and realize that this is happening? And their grandparents in the room that I'm going to meeting in have said to their mother, oh, this isn't your fight to fight. It's none of your business. Leave it be. Sorry. If it's not her fight to fight, if it's not our fight to fight, then whose fight is it? Because it makes me really like that. Just, are you willing to let it be your grandkid or your child? Because maybe it hasn't happened to your grandkid or your kid, but when it gets closer and it starts happening to you, and you start fighting and you start watching it all be swept under the carpet, you start to realize that actually those people that, you know, we thought were a little bit different because they left, or, you know, they were bitter or whatever, that no, they've been hurt, and that there's some really stuff going on.
Sorry, Linda, I waited for that word to be used towards us, and Jonathan Freeburn did it. We were better.
Yeah.
I said, there, you won the prize.
Bad spirit
One
and bitter.
thing-
That's what we.
I was really clear about when I talked to you guys was that you're not bitter. Like, you have every reason to be, but you're not. Like, I mean, Bob, you're here telling us that even like there's hope even for Judas, and I mean, you guys have every reason to be bitter.
I say, if you're gonna label me as that because I'm standing up against what's happening, go ahead. I don't name calling, not like whatever.
Mhm.
But he told us on the phone that they talked to a psychologist or psychiatrist, I don't know.
Yeah,
And
this is Jonathan Freeburn, but anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
that he talked to them and about Morgan, and they told him that it was not abuse. So I guess going back, my request was for an email to be sent out to everybody in the Maritimes to give a little bit of detail of the abuse that happened. I said, I don't care if you name names, it doesn't matter to me, but so that everybody could be united. I said, right now you have friends all over that have different stories or being told different things. I said, if you get something from the workers with explaining what happened and we handled it wrong and we're gonna do better. But that was my request and it didn't happen. So Jonathan said that he went he couldn't use the word abuse in the letter because he had asked. And I said, how, like, and then I guess 5 minutes later, he tells me that he doesn't really know Morgan's experience. And I said, well, how can you go ask for professional advice or professional opinion about what happened and be told that it's not abuse and you don't even know what happened to her? Like I said, how dare you tell me that my daughter has not been abused? You don't know. You can't tell me that. But I know that Jean Greville told different people in this area that the same story, that she was not abused. So
They even told your mom and dad.
they even told me
Oh.
she wasn't abused. But
So like,
so these people have lied to our face. I can tell you that and I can't expect you to believe it, but it's very clear to us that multiple of them have lied to us and they've lied about us. So like, I can't trust I don't trust any of them.
So when
You can't
When
stand up
Jonathan
for the
was-
truth, I'm sorry.
when Jonathan was out west for conventions, we were told that someone had talked to him, and he said that he was going to talk to you guys when he got back and try and set things in order. Did that
So
happen?
let me tell you that story. So when we had the meeting for them to cancel convention, Bob told Jonathan was just got here. And like, I don't know Jonathan, like you give him the benefit of the doubt. We were hopeful that maybe would be good. So Bob told him a story, an experience that happened to Morgan with the sister worker that
Made sexual advances towards
yeah.
her.
So Jonathan looked us in the face and said he was shocked. And he had the demeanor and the look of shock. So that was okay. So this guy doesn't even know. So that's fine. Nap and convention rolls around. And a cousin of mine had a conversation with him. And he was shocked about what she told him.
Same story.
I don't know if it was the same story, but he was shocked.
Same behavior.
So, okay, so people are wanting hope that things are gonna get better. So she is wanting to tell me that he doesn't know, like he's shocked over this. And then bless her heart, in BC, I get a phone call or a text to say that she had a conversation with Jonathan. And
Marilyn Haywood, yeah.
I'm not really sure what the conversation was, but it was I don't know if it was the word shocked, but he didn't know. Or so I said, you can only be shocked about these things once. Like, don't keep telling this story that you didn't know. You have been told. So that is lying to me. I don't, maybe
Yeah.
that's how I see it. You're telling untruths.
I call him
Mom and
Captain
Dad,
Brenna.
I have to
Sorry,
go
go ahead,
back.
Lindsay.
I have to go back to the classroom, and I'm sorry, and pretend that pretend that my brain's on straight. But I guess my thing I wanted to say is, to me, my thought now is it's blasphemy. Like, they're doing these things as if it's within God's name. Like, this is God's way and this is God's truth, and that's not Jesus. And Mom heard that from a lady down the road at church. Like, that's not the Jesus I know. or that's not the God I know. And I like to do these things and say that, oh, we've prayed to God and he said this, we need to shut down this, or we prayed to God and this is what he's saying to do, with the purpose of covering things up. That is taking the Lord's name in vain, not saying a bad word. Anyway, I've got to go back to teaching, but
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks, Lindsay. I just wanted to say really quickly that Lindsay, at the recommendation of the workers, it was between high school and university that you went to Ecuador. It was, hyped up by the brother workers
Yes.
here. Oh yeah, go to Ecuador, go to
the
Ecuador.
Schultz,
Yeah.
Steve Schultz.
If you got time, tell the story, Lindsay, but if you don't, I understand.
Oh, Steve Schultz came out east.
Must be almost time to
Yeah.
I don't
wrap
know
it
whether
up.
it was a year before that or not, but he just was sharing lots about Ecuador, and then he spent a lot of time at my mom and dad's house. And since I've been very concerned to see that he spends a lot of time at a lot of young girls' parents' homes in his downtime, I'm very, like, that gives me a lot of concern. So I was encouraged because I expressed a little bit of interest, you're kind of wanting some adventure, so expressed some interest in Ecuador, and he grabbed onto that like a dog with a bone, not knowing that I had trouble with anxiety, and mom and dad raised that as a concern, and he shut them down, so they weren't to question I was going to Ecuador. So I went to Ecuador and was on a trip. There's a man down there that runs trips with the young friends. And then I was to stay for a year and work for his cousin. And like his brother came and checked up on me in a bus station where we swapped over. And this is all this is Dale Schultz's nephews. But I was not well and I wanted to go home, and he kept saying, oh, you need to stop calling home, you need to stop having so much contact with home. And I have every email he has sent me, and I've read through those, and those are grooming. That is grooming, what happened to me. And I don't know what the purpose of sending young women to South America is, but
a
something's
young
yucky.
white diminutive girl to South America alone and send her to meeting to a man's house that is a known rapist. I'm sorry.
Like rape his children against a tree by holding them down with a machete. I'm sorry, but that is wrong.
And that's where they sent her to meeting. To this man's
So
home.
I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and I go to this man's home with all of these kids visiting at the workers' approval.
Their blessing.
To this man's home for a meeting, and they have been warned about this guy. It's not okay. It's not okay. And that he has no business in telling my parents that I should go to South America. And when I came home, I got really sick. I got a parasite and got really, really sick. And he was angry. That's none of his business.
Right, we were in the wrong, like
I've
we
got a
were, could we?
Love you, Lindsay. Love you. Have a good day.
Anyway, people have heard enough of our story.
But it was
Anyway.
Steve that was angry. Is that someone's asking just to
Yeah, he was really
Yeah.
disappointed and angry with her for bailing on the South America thing. I don't know what he thought was going to happen down there, but anyway, it didn't. Yeah. But I mean, just the fact that that's where she was arranged to go to meeting at this guy's house. You guys, a lot of people have heard the story. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing, but that's just kind of, you gotta question the wisdom of all of this. And, if
The wisdom of her parents, like how dumb are we?
Yeah.
Pretty dumb.
Well, we just didn't know, right? Like you
just trusted.
we were doing what we just all did what we thought was the best we could do.
Yeah.
But I hear you. I mean, my kids are a little bit younger than yours, and I didn't. But yeah, I worried myself. So I do hear you guys.
There's people that will say, well, this type of behavior is everywhere. And that's true, it is. But it's how it's looked after when it's discovered that makes the difference. And it seems to me that it's amongst us, more than, the incidence of it is greater than a lot of places. And I try to think back through, of things in my childhood, and it's just the setup is kind of wrong. Like I remember Bowen saying, I'm everyone at convention is my cousin or somewhere distant, somewhere related. And I remember telling the kids, they'd say they were interested in somebody at school, a boy or a girl or whatever in school. And I would never forbid them. And I'd say, as long as they don't compromise your principles, I don't really have a problem with you hanging out with them. And I said, it's good for the gene pool. Like which, oh dear. I was a bad dad, I guess.
You were a good dad. You're still a good dad. You guys are great.
And dear. Anyway, but we're like to say this has been really painful, and I'm not whining, but it is. It's like a really, it's like going through a divorce or something. I don't know what you call it, but it's really encouraging to see everybody here, and just like I can just kind of feel the care, and that's genuine, and it was always there all along. There's always this group of people that would get together for whatever function that was going on. There was always that was the best thing about it in a lot of ways, in my opinion. Like we loved having convention here. We really did. Just I loved to see the people come. I loved it, and yeah.
But we're stuck here till we
Yeah.
get it sold.
That's the other thing too. I just wanted people to know that so Stacy and I and Dad and her dad built this house. It was the house was built in 1857. We completely renovated it from like 2000 to about 2008. Probably took us a long time, but a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into it, and now we have to sell it. We have no choice. And the reason that we need to sell is because there are 24 buildings on this property, 24 buildings. In several of, a lot of it is in a poor state of repair. And it's too much. Like the taxes are crazy. The insurance is crazy. We've actually had our insurance canceled. I think the insurance company got wind of what was going on, and they feel we're too big a risk, and they just canceled us. It's a trap. We're stuck. We have no choice but sell our home if we can. Yeah, that's the thing. But anyway, but we hoped, like when I put it for sale, my hope is that some of the friends would step up, and so the realtor, it was kind of funny, the realtor come in and said, how much do you want to sell your property for? And we said, well, what's it worth? And so we just let her go to it, put whatever price on it you want. So the price is really high on the property, but my thought was, well, that'll keep the tire kickers away, and it'll give if the workers or the friends really want to save this, they can come forward and we'll just negotiate something. I mean, we'll just be gone. I mean, we offered to move before anyway, but we've had this many phone calls, and nothing. None of the friends, none of the workers has made any approach to us as far as taking this over. Zero. So then we started selling things. We put the convention benches on for sale first, just to, well, maybe this will get their attention. Nope, nothing. So then we put the dining shed tables up for sale. Well, maybe this will get their attention. Nope, they don't. I just think they wanted it shut down anyway. I don't know. I really don't know. But we've kind of give up on them, and it's too bad. And I told the friends, like some of the friends, I said, the friends put a lot of work and money into this place, but how are you going to get that back? And so I said, if you feel like you're owed something from here, go talk to the workers. They shut it down, take it out of their hide.
I don't want convention
Yeah.
here again. anyway.
Yeah, I don't want it here. Like, as long as I'm here, it'll never be here. If they want to come in and buy me out, then they can have at her. But no, there will never be another convention here. When they closed it like that and treated us like that and had no respect for our concerns about child sex abuse, there's evidence, there's clear evidence that our son was molested. Possible Lindsay and Morgan. I don't know about Morgan when she was young, but definitely when she was in the work. And I don't want to be a part of that. But as far as the friends go, I loved them before and I still love them. And there's been no change of heart as far as that goes. But I cannot support this ministry. I can't, absolutely not. Somebody asked what the first year convention, it was 1927 was the first year here. We moved here in 1994. So we were here nearly 30 years.
Alice, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just before it's all over, I just want to make sure that you know that we all love you very much, believe you 100%. And I know from firsthand situations that involved our family that you're telling the truth, and it's a shame. And just want you to know you're not bad parents. We all feel really guilty about some of the things we put on our children that we should never have. But love you guys. That's all.
Thanks, Alice.
Thank you, Alice, very much.
Well, it is 10 o'clock. Bob and Stacy, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, for telling your story. I hope that, like I told you guys from the beginning, I just wanted you to feel the love and the support. So I hope that we've accomplished that to some extent. But yeah, I've been cheering you on since last year. Like, you guys just have so much integrity and transparency, and that's what we've been all missing. And like I said, like, just the plain talk, no platitudes, no euphemisms, like just straight out tell us how it is kind of thing. And we appreciate that. And like, you guys didn't owe us anything coming on this call. You've already given so much. So thank you so very much for coming on the call. And I meant it, I'm coming to visit. I'll be down there this summer anyway, so I'll definitely be over. I might be over there more than you want me there.
We have lots of room if anyone wants to stay. All kinds of beds.
Yep. My. Yeah.
Thinking about having an auction if you want us to let you know.
Anyway, anyone out there, everybody is welcome to come. I don't know. We're shy people, but we love people. Like, I don't know how to explain that exactly, but yeah. And we missed Edgar Massey was in the area when we were both in New Zealand, and we missed him. He stopped in the dooryard, and we missed out on a visit with him, and I feel really bad. But our door, we're open all the time.
Well, not for I have stipulations though.
Yeah.
Read the list if you're one of those. I don't believe you.
But
planning a get together. We should do one at we'll do it at Woodstock.
But just so you know, like, I don't hate pedophiles. Like, I don't. I hate what they've done. I do. But I mean, I know people. I've had people in my family. And I don't. It's awful, but there has to be a path to redemption for everyone, in my opinion. But that doesn't include putting them in the same room with a child, or asking a child to trust them, or expecting a child to trust them. And it also doesn't include putting them, like, if they abused a child, now that child is grown up, don't even put them in the room with that person. Like, I'm sorry, but no, don't do it. And they shouldn't expect it, in my opinion. They should not expect that.
No, I agree. I think if they're truly repentant, they wouldn't. And Sorry to interrupt you there, but Linda has her hand up.
Yep.
You just need to unmute Linda. It says Linda's iPad, so I'm not sure which Linda that is. Maybe it's not meant to be your hand up. I'm sorry. If it is, then we can just move on. Okay, well, I think that might be a mistake. So sorry for interrupting, but
Sorry.
That's okay. That,
Oh. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of messages in the chat for you guys, and I think I get a little text file at the end of the call. I'm happy to send it on to you so you can read it all later.
that would be really nice, and love to everybody. Thank you very much for coming on, and that, like, people have been really supportive through all of this. So one of the things that I don't like is so when some of these people were having trouble, they would send out a letter and say, the first thing they would say in the letter, we're so thankful for those that have supported us, and so basically, the heck with the rest of you guys, that didn't support us. And that's not how I feel. I'm thankful for people that have supported, and I know that there's a lot of people that have quietly supported us, and haven't said anything. And I know that there's some people that don't support us, and I love you all the same. And everybody's at a different place in the process. This is like earth shattering for some people. Like my mom and dad, they're in their early 80s, and
You're telling them.
yeah, telling their age, but they've been in this most of their life, and Stacy's mom and dad, same thing. It's gut wrenching to see it come apart.
I just
like
wish,
this.
like Rose's question about Wayne, I wish he could be more, you could explain it better than I did. But that's the best I can do. I feel like that is on,
Well,
it's not finished.
Andrew Jacques is on the call as well, and I get, like, Andrew, as you know, would have some personal experiences with Wayne,
Yep.
but he just mentioned that Wayne is a narcissist. I don't know if Andrew's still on the call or not, but yeah. So
Yeah,
He damages people, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think he enjoys it, in my opinion. I think it's something that he likes to do, is to hurt
I think
people.
it's a game.
Yeah, it's like it's a little game. Yeah. And it's not very nice to see. He'll prop you up, make you feel like you're his buddy, and then just crush you. Yeah. And it's in the spirit, like the spirit of that just pervades everything. Like during preps, there's just this tension and this horrible feeling. I don't know. I can't really even describe it, but it's I don't know. It's just like this big black cloud that is just following him around, and it affects everybody within 100 miles.
Well, I feel like it's something like when we were living here, and I'm not looking for sympathy. You just never felt like you're good enough or you did enough, so you try harder. And I feel like there were some of the staff were like that with Wayne. Like, he could make you feel like you weren't good enough, so they just tried harder. And it's just like you never feel like you're good enough ever. And I mean,
But
that's the way we lived here during preps, not with everybody, but with most.
But there's a path to redemption for everybody, like including Wayne, as far as I'm concerned. Like, if Wayne reached out to me and acknowledged and asked me to forgive him, it'd be as simple as that. And like, honestly, that's all it takes.
yeah.
Very simple. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. That was my big worry when we had the meeting with Wayne, that what if he comes in the room and he's like all apologetic and so sorry? Am I ready yet or not? I didn't have to worry. He was not. That was not what the meeting was about.
So
Anyway,
there's just, a question from Nadine about where and when the video will be posted. So I'll have to do a little bit of editing, just the beginning parts and stuff when everyone was still joining, and then we should be putting it up on CCF in Ontario content. Ontario Eastern Canada, I should specify. Content on CCF is where it'll be. But it will just take a few days to get it all together. I think it takes Zoom a little bit of time to prepare the file, and then I have to edit it. So yeah, but we'll get it up there as quickly as we can.
I probably don't want to listen to it.
You guys were awesome. And
Delete.
yeah, no, it just meant so much to have you here. Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. This has been helpful for us, very much. I feel like, yeah, it's good. Thank you very much. And
Good to see some faces.
yeah, good to see some familiar faces and,
That all I seen was on text, so I never didn't put a face to them, so now I can.
yeah, but anyway, we're all gonna be okay in yeah, in whatever, whatever path everybody's taken, just I don't know. I don't like to, I'm not gonna get preachy, but I just feel like this has been a good thing. And I feel like, I don't know, there's, God is without getting too much into it, I think just I think those that are trusting in God will help. And those that are following Jesus, that'll be fine. And if that's not what you're up to, you're gonna be okay too. Because it's just be kind to each other, please. Be kind and honest, and it'll make life go a lot better. And just a quick one, up where I work, I have a lot of I have kids, like summer students that come in, and I have young people like that come in and help me. And if somebody came to me and said, Bob, this person has a complaint against you, like you said something inappropriate to them or whatever, I would resign my position. I would also go to them and immediately and try to clear the air. And I would not deny it, even if I felt I was completely innocent. For them to make an allegation against me, I would feel that they have some grounds, or there's some reason why they would say that. So whether I've done it wrong or not, clear the air, resign my position, because
Yeah, but your mind doesn't work like theirs.
but I've been put in a place of trust. I've been trusted with these young lives, and I'm responsible for them. And anyway, and so that's what I expect of these folks too. And I don't think it's too much to ask.
Well, someone mentioned on CCF today that Cynthia Lyles had said that if everyone if the response had been different, like it didn't have to go the way it did.
Yeah.
If the response had been different, it could have been turned out so differently. And I just said, I just feel like everything's unfolding exactly the way it was supposed to. Like, it's been painful, yes, but yeah, it's just, this light was meant to be turned on and to it's a bright light, and when it's done, there's going to be very little left that's hidden, and that's how it should be. Alice?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Bob really summed it up when he sent the little crickets to Ray at first. He's 100% right. It could have been cleared up in 24 hours. If there's honesty, it just should have just been gone. I mean, it's been like my prayer for 20 years about the emotional abuse within the workers, that God would please reveal it. And I thought, wow, like when we heard the Dean Brewer, and I thought, okay, this is great. It's going to be, everybody's going to be so upset, and they're going to say, okay, this is the end of this. And it just didn't kind of pan out that way. I mean, a lot of us, it has. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. If there was really honestly truth within our heart, like we're really honest, if there's that willingness inside to be honest, like it should have been over in 24 hours. They just needed to repent and say like, oh my word, this is bad. We're sorry and it's changing, right? So Bob really summed that up very well, put it perfectly.
I think too, another thought that was just on as listening to Bob was like, we've heard, Jesus has told us that you'll know them by their love. You'll know my disciples by their love one to another.
Absolutely. So
And
simple.
Very
it
plain.
is. It's so simple.
Very
And
so
I mean,
simple.
I've just been reminded so often of how many times I've said that, even like, where's the love? And not even just in this past year, like for a long, for a while, different situations that have come up. But anyway, we don't need to look back. God wants us to look forward. I mean, to a certain extent, of course, there has to be consequences. There has to be like amends. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm wording it properly, but anyway,
It breaks
it's
my
just-
heart to think of the years and decades that people have suffered like by themselves with no support. I can't imagine going through this with no support. Like we come out, we've had so much support from so many people that we don't even know. Like, and there's people like I really can't imagine how they've managed.
Yeah, and we've seen that on CCF, like where people who were hurt so badly 20, 30 years ago, and now they're on CCF and they're talking to us and helping people, and it's amazing. Like it's like, well, there's the love. Yeah, there it is.
And like I remember somebody saying like that happened so many years ago, like why do they have to be talking about it? Because it's the first chance they've ever got to be able to talk about it out loud. It's like we had our meeting with Charles and Jonathan. Lindsay was on the phone and she was like, this is one of her first times she was able to express herself and express her feelings. And Charles told me multiple times over and over again to mute her. Can you not mute her? I said, no, Charles, you're going to listen. That's just a little tiny bit of the hurt that's been done. And you can listen to it. So yes, it's a hard thing to listen to. It's a hard thing to realize that these people have gone through. But by the jumping, you can hear the hurt in it. I'm not moving anybody.
Oh, I almost forgot. There's a important, and I'm sorry, I don't want to make this go too long. I apologize, but this is important. So when we had the first meeting we had with Jonathan, Jean Greville, and Charles O'Rigan at Mom and Dad's, when they announced the canceling of the meeting, Charles O'Rigan told us that the meeting that he had just come from, the men that he had met with, which would be Ray Hoffman, Barry Barkley, and Dale Schultz, that they were 1,000 times more spiritual than he was. And I said, Charles, what have you just said? And that is the scariest thing I ever heard a worker say.
One of the scary.
Well, I think it might be, it's in the top two. It might be number one. Seriously, they're 1,000 times more spiritual. These men, the triumvirate, it's like I don't like to use the word cult, but, and it's that's what it smells like when you start talking like that. And yeah, anyway. Not cool. I didn't, that made me feel really creepy inside. And yeah, my mom is saying, yes, Charles did that. She was.
Brad said 1,000 times 0 equals 0. Well done, Brad.
Yeah, and I don't know if everybody kind of grasps the implication of that, but if you're gonna heap that kind of adoration on anybody but Jesus, I'm sorry, you got a problem, and there's a problem.
Yeah.
These men are not 1,000 times more spiritual than anybody. Oh, Bernie says he said it at his house too. So that's scary. I'm sorry, folks. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have one other question someone just sent me. How do you feel about conventions going forward?
Sorry, about what now?
About conventions, other conventions going forward.
I think the convention owners just for liability reasons, should take a really close look at, whether or not you want to continue or not. Like, that's up to you. That's up to people. I'm not going to try and tell people what to do.
Us, we wouldn't do it again. We wouldn't have convention here again.
It's over. Yeah.
For more than just liability reasons.
Yeah.
I'm not worried, like, it's not liability to me, it's liability to people's lives. They suffer for the rest of their lives. With
Yeah, like no
scars.
amount of insurance can
No,
pay,
yeah,
no.
damage, yeah.
That's not, no.
And,
Bernie wants you to tell us about Judas again, Don.
well, if you think about Judas, so just real, I'm sorry, I don't want to be preachy, I really don't, but I will say this much, that Judas, I think, like, Judas liked money, apparently, and it said that he was a thief, which in one of the Gospels, and that's really not that much of a crime as far as I'm concerned. Like, there's lots of us that like money. So what Judas did was he betrayed Jesus to make some money. And I really think, I don't know, but I really think he thought Jesus was just going to walk out of it just like he did every other time. And Jesus would be up 30 pieces of silver and Jesus would be okay.
Judas would be.
Or Judas, yeah, Judas would be up 30 pieces of silver and Jesus would be okay, is what I think. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I do know that it says that when he said, "I've betrayed the innocent blood," and he threw the money down to them, and they said, "What's that to us? We don't care." And then and as far as I'm concerned, that was his repentance. He realized that he had done. He said, "I betrayed innocent blood." And I could forgive Judas, because he was, I could.
But that was one of the things that used to bother me, that they kept saying it was a bit like Judas. This was like Judas.
It's not like Judas. Dean Brewer wasn't Judas. Dean Brewer was the devil, as far as I'm concerned. Completely different people.
Like I said, that was about money.
Yeah.
Are you really comparing people's lives to money? No. He stole money. He didn't steal their dignity and take away peace, and no, there's no comparison.
And
Go ahead, Brad.
and we could keep banging on Dean Brewer, but there's a whole list of them, and they were all at our place for convention at one time or another as a visitor, every one of them. Anyway.
Brad has his hand up. And
Pardon
then we're
me?
probably gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
Bob, I just want to say thanks for that explanation about Judas.
Okay.
I have felt for a long time that he is one of the 12 apostles as part of the foundation. And I think you've explained it clearly to me why I believe that tonight.
Yeah.
And I'll just mention one other thing I didn't plan to say anything tonight, but on the topic of Ministry Safe, we had the great privilege, my wife and I, sitting on the couch, one end or the other, with Ray Hoffman sitting between us. This was between our special meeting in April last year, right before we heard about Dean Brewer and before he had his visit to the Maritimes. And we took a Ministry Safe course with him so he could show us what a wonderful job he was doing. And after the events of the past year, I'm more convinced than ever that was part of his grooming process for us to be supporters of him. And we stand behind you with zero support from the workers from this household.
We really appreciate you, Brad and Kelly, very much. Always looked up to and appreciated you both. And you don't know me real well, but you're good people. Thank you for being good people.
When you find your time and your way to do it, you come to Maine, we'll get to know each other a little better. We're shy and quiet people too. A lot of people don't believe it, but
They are good people. I had the privilege of meeting them in person. They are good people.
Thank you for sharing that, Brad, very much.
say hi.
Hi. It's Marilyn. Hi. I just had to say that, well, I guess I'm emotional. I feel like I've never sat in a meeting in my life where I felt such honesty and a spirit. I haven't sat in a meeting for a long time where I felt it like I felt it tonight. And, you know, we're considered the outsiders now. And I feel like I'm starting to say, if somebody approaches me about that now, oh, you're outside now. You know what? I'm going to start saying, no, you're outside. And that's the way I feel now. I never thought a year ago that I'd even be saying this. And I see things so much more clearly tonight even than we've seen it before. And it's only God that's shown us this. And friends of ours, the Dakus, Marianne and Hartley, we become friends with them. And Hartley said one night, he said, you know, what I was saying, why is it that we've seen this? And he said, I think it's because God sees honest hearts. And I think that's what's happened. God sees honesty. And I just want to tell you how much our husband and I appreciate the stand you've taken and what an inspiration it's been to every one of us. And we're going to continue. And none of us are leaving God. We believe in God. We know that we have no one else to turn to. And like you say, we don't need to be in a meeting. And we've lost friends like you have lost and many others have lost. And that's hurtful. But we just feel so moved that we've done the right thing. And after 6 generations in my family, it's been difficult, but we feel at peace. And I just want you both to know that you mean the world to everybody on this chat line. That we're with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you. Bless your. So I keep saying bless your heart. That's very kind. And I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to some of the workers too. Like we say we're trapped. There's some of the workers that are trapped too. And just think about them, please. Yeah. I'm not sure what the solution is, but I know that if Genevieve Kasavi showed up here in town and said she was having gospel meetings out from underneath the umbrella of this, I'd go. Or if Martin Cobb rolled in, out from underneath of this, I'd go to his meetings in a heartbeat. And so I think there's some good ones out there. And they're hurting. So anyway, just be mindful of them, please. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I do have to wrap it up. I think we could talk all night. We almost have
Come early in this house.
Thank you so much again. And
Thank you,
everyone.
and thank you for the work you're doing. It's critical, and just this little bit of hooking everybody together. This unity is awesome. Yeah, thank you. It's really nice. Love all you people. And yeah, we're gonna be okay. Just we're gonna be okay. Yeah, I don't feel like my soul's salvation is in jeopardy. Never have at any moment. I mean, other than my own stupidity, but because of the decisions we made over this, I don't feel like it's been a bad thing. Yeah. And I just think we need to make clear, like, just this. And I said to the workers when I said I will not attend any meeting. I will not support this ministry. As long as these people are in charge, count me out.
We need to go.
Yeah. Anyway,
We're way past our time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care, please.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.